Hello there. My name is Andrew Mabonis, biologist, STEM researcher, woo shaman, and like the biggest autist. So the person that leaves all the random items in alleyways that Tom Hanks likes to take pictures of for his Instagram. Anyway, someone asked me to talk more about light therapy, and again, you guys are in trouble because guess who made charts? You asked for guides, you asked for charts, you asked for all this stuff, and I finally made it after a month and a half of trying to draw it and write it and dry erase marker it onto a board. I have one for POTS, so if you guys want a cheat sheet for POTS and how it works, also one for light therapy. I'll link it in my link tree in my bio. You can go check it out. Anyway, let's get into light therapy. We have to start with a very basic premise for the brain and the body and how we work as human beings. Everything that you do is run on light cues. From the sun to the moon and the night and the day and the seasons and where you are in the equator and how you have your ancestry run, right? If you're used to living in the Arctic or, places in very northern Europe or in specific places around the equator, you can check that out. But let's talk about light therapy for a second, right? So why does it work? How does it work? And why are our bodies geared this way? Let's talk about our bodies. Our bodies are run on light cues. So the night and the day, seasons, where you are on the equator. There's a really big impact on how your body's metabolism is run, from your circadian rhythm and how you sleep to how that affects like all of the hypothalamic autonomic nervous activity, from mating to eating to sleeping to walking around with correct blood pressure and how you eat. Right? What is light therapy anyway? Light therapy is this idea if you just like sit in front of different colors of light, it does shit in your body. Clinical setting, you might have heard of it referred to as PUVA therapy. Basically what they do is they apply a goopy photosensitive, i.e. a reactive paste to whatever they're trying to treat, and they shine a light on it, right? And that could be anything from like a flashlight to a fucking laser. So the goo reacts to the light and triggers certain metabolists. Metabolic. There it is, metabolic. It triggers certain metabolic changes to fix certain things like psoriasis or cancer. So your body's run on light. It's run on light cycles. The metabolism down to a cellular level, right? Because you're fractal. As a living organism, right? Your own little planet full of billions of pathogens that all live and do war with each other on a cellular level. So when you are exposed to certain wavelengths of light, that triggers certain metabolic responses. Whether it's a viral infected host cell that's being hit with a UV light to cease replication or destroy viral DNA, or you're shining a red light on a form of skin cancer, again to stop viral replication, because different wavelengths affect different viruses, different pathogens, fungus differently. You guys will have noticed, I'm sure by now, especially with COVID, is there's these little like UV and blue light dryers in bathrooms and stuff. They use it at hospitals too for light disinfectant. There's something called apoptosis in cells, causes them to die. As you age, your body decays, and this is through the process of oxidation, essentially, right? Like you're rusting away because you breathe in oxygen, and your body uses that to cleave carbons off of things and organic molecules, and then split that and create energy for you and yourself through your mitochondria. So what we see it do is boost mitochondrial function. So you can control cell proliferation this way, which is really interesting. It's also what can cause cell proliferation, like UV light and skin cancer, right? It's an inappropriate cell that just keeps dividing uncontrollably. Affect the metabolism of all these different cells. You can use it to switch stem cells into other cells. Use it to transfer adipose tissue into other cells too. So very specific wavelengths do cool things. In color spectrum. In case you have never looked at it, it kind of follows the Hindu pattern for chakras, right? So you have like violet up here, and then it goes down, and you got red. And red is very, very low, long wavelengths. UV is very, very high, short burst energy. And so when we're talking about like migraines and stuff being triggered by blue light, it's because you're getting higher energy light stimulating more CNS activity. And if you have migraines, you have this inappropriate ability to regulate these neural flares of electric stimulation, signal flaring, electricity flaring inappropriately in your brain goop, and then it spreads. and then you get a seizure or migraine. Very closely linked. Or you get a psychological inflammation and anxiety, which is why a lot of neurodivergent people and people with migraines and POTS and things like that can't be around blue lights, which they stack in office buildings and in schools. Also, blue light makes you way, way nearsighted, makes you blind. There's a lot of stuff that's run on our bodies, right? And I had this whole theory that was really interesting about being nearsighted when I was reading some stuff about it. Like, let's say my ancestors grew up around the equator and we lived in jungles, dense jungles or forests. Like, you really wouldn't need to be farsighted in a forest that's really dense if you're never supposed to look more than 200 feet in front of you, you know, versus living out on an open plain. You have farsightedness because that is genetically like, these things exist as an evolutionary reason, a response to something. So there's a reason that we have it, right? Like, we just consider it a defect because we don't live in a fucking forest anymore. I digress. Anyway, back to light therapy. So you can stare at green light and red light, and it will make you see sharper. Red light prevents myopia in children. They did a study in China, and they found that it makes kids less nearsighted in school. It gives them more balanced vision. So that's how crazy the fine tuning of your body with light is, and how you can biohack it, because it affects your hormones. Again, I talk a lot on my podcasts and on my channels about this idea of biohacking your body with hormones, because they control everything that you do in your brain and in your body, and how it works, from your immune system to your brain function to, you know, everything that signals anything, from when you need to shit to when you need to eat or fuck. So yeah, really interesting connection with light and that. Again, because we're animals. Animals mate based on seasons, and humans historically have lost that, obviously, right? But like, even way far back in our evolutionary history, we didn't really mate in seasons because we didn't have to. And our babies are really resource intensive. So, whole strategy there. They just came out with a vaccine for all viruses, I was reading on Reddit. So we'll see how that goes. I would love to see how that works. Because I'm like, all viruses? That's, we'll have to see. Red light, you can stimulate collagen production, so you can make your skin look youthful and young and glowy, and you can use it for joint health and bone health and eye health and teeth health. You can affect pigmentation in the skin, which also affects the eyes. Like, when we think about keratin overgrowth, or we think about any kind of inappropriate cell replication or immune response, like psoriasis or eczema or lipomas, you can use light therapy for that. Because, again, you're controlling the cellular metabolism. And if you have one group of healthy cells, and then you have a group of infected cells, or whatever type of cells you're trying to, disengage from whatever they're doing, the light that you're shining with the photosensitive goo that's specifically to target that works, and it keeps all the other cells around it relatively healthy, depending on what kind of light. UV is its own special thing. I love all the studies that I found on it, which specifically outlined healthy levels before they started to see cellular breakdown of healthy cells. Like, I was reading something about endothelial cells, and they were like, this is the highest we could turn it up before everything just died, and it was a bad result. And I was like, science. And it was a human subject. Anyway, so you can use it for hair growth, so male pattern baldness. I'm surprised that isn't everywhere. Like, we've been looking for the cure for male pattern baldness forever. So you can use red light for hair growth. It basically stimulates testosterone production. We've talked about on my channel in the past how humans kind of evolved in two different climactic areas in the beginning, very, very beginning of our history, before we split off into all these different phenotypes. But we had, like, north and south. We're basically either you're from a really cold area, or you eat a lot of fat and you have, like, a lot of blue light, or you're from around the equator, right, where you get hit with a lot of sun, and you get hit with a lot of red light. So they do different things. And blue light is really good for depression and mood disorders. It stimulates serotonin, which is really essentially closely linked to estrogen and your glucose metabolism, and how it binds in your little dinosaur brain poopy sleeve you have right before your intestines starts. Where your stomach is. It's called a duodenum. You have a second dinosaur brain down there. These hormone levels in your body, and how it affects your mood and your overall health and your immune system and your ability for your brain to function correctly, and for your behavior to be stabilized in the foods you eat. Right? Because we crave we crave foods for a reason, right? So if you're like depressed and you're out of feel good chemicals, like you're just gonna eat shitty food because you want to feel good, right? You're gonna do whatever you want to do that's dopamine seeking because you want to feel good. So our brains can be manipulated that way through light, because again we're just monkeys. We're just evolved chimpy primates that discovered electricity and who rub the goo on, shine the light on it, kills whatever. You can use it basically to treat specific parts of the body with different wavelengths. So green is for the eyes and for flaring CNS activity for migraines and headaches. You can use that for pain management. Red is for pain management, collagen, stimulation, skin treatment, fungal growth. Blue light is for mood, depression, sleep disorders, insomnia. All right, so let's talk about oxidation, oxygen in the cellular metabolism, and how lead affects that. Certain wavelengths of light can increase the utilization of oxygen in your body, i.e., decreasing the amount of free radicals. So just basically oxygen that floats around that binds to things it's not supposed to bind to, and like fucks up all the shit in your body. Essentially, it increases our body's ability to utilize that. And what that does is it again improves mitochondrial function because you can cleave more glucose into energy and ATP. So brain's most energy intensive organ in the body, it consumes 50% of the glucose that you eat every day. So more efficient oxygen leads to better brain function and better cellular function and respiration, muscle performance, and your whole body just likes it. Just likes it. So when we're talking about PUVA, one of the most interesting pieces that I was looking at was what they use in PUVA therapy. And one of them, and mind-blowing for you guys for this, is methylene blue. You know, the crazy TikToks about that and how science is also using that apparently to cure anything and everything. I gotta do research on that. But yeah, methyl blue everywhere. It's like methyl blue. Yeah, you can use it as a photosensitizing agent to change the cellular metabolism of whatever you're using it on. So I wonder how that works. So as cells get older in your body, oh god, they age, they get old, they split too much, they get tired, they decompose like everything else in the universe, and they die. So when you use certain waves of light, you can again just force them to die faster, or force them to split faster, or prevent their DNA from copying, or prevent the specific piece of their cell membrane from being recognized by other things in the body for an immune system with fungus. It's crazy. It can help certain cells in the immune system, like macrophages, recognize fungal cell wall components that would otherwise be cloaked and invisible, like a homing beacon to the cells in your body that fight off pathogens by eating them. Really cool shit. Light therapy is something that I actually think is really cool on a personal level. I have color changing light bulbs all over my house. And I've been doing this forever now. I think I've been doing this for like 8, 9 months. Didn't even realize I was doing it. But yeah, I just switched the light bulbs in my house to whatever I'm feeling, right? So if I'm feeling anxious, turn on a red light, right? Because I don't want blue light. I want low energy. I don't want high burst energy in my brain. I don't want stimulating stuff. So yeah, go check out my guide. It's got all the stuff in there. It lays out every wavelength, everything that you can do with it, how it works. So yeah, I think you guys will enjoy it. Have a good one.